Hello, Hotfix Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Hidden Heroes. This is the Hotfix Show where we showcase speedrunners who are a part of marginalized communities in the games that they're passionate about and that they want to show off. My name is Anarchy, and if you didn't know, the month of May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which celebrates just exactly that. Those who are of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander heritage. And we celebrate their contributions to history, culture, and achievements everywhere. If you didn't see this past weekend, GDQ celebrated AAPI Heritage Month with its AAPI Heritage Celebration, which was just an absolutely wonderful celebration of AAPI talent in the speedrunning scene. So if you missed any of the runs, you definitely want to go back and watch them on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/GameZoneQuick, just because it was an amazing event. So shout out Gabby, Etchi, Jeezy, and all the people that worked on and participated in the event. It was just an amazing time. With that, before we get started, I quickly want to talk about our schedule. It's very simple. There's one game on it. So in a minute or two, we're going to be having on a variety pack doing Bioshock Infinite Gunless, which is going to be a really interesting run. So make sure you stick around and you stay tuned for that. But before we get there, our shirt bit, which I do every time on the show. We've got something sort of kind of related, but not actually. So if you want to feel Overwatch, of course, the original 2016 shooter was released 10 years ago, 10 years and 2 days ago. So for anybody who knows me, Overwatch and Overwatch esports changed my life, and it means a whole lot to me. So tonight for our shirt bit, we've got on a Hangzhou Spark jersey to represent both Overwatch and AAPI Heritage Month. But with all that, I have talked enough, I think, and we've got a run to start. So I want to welcome on a variety pack with Bioshock Infinite Gunless. So good luck, have fun, and take it away.
All right, hello to everyone. My name is A Variety Pack. Today we're going to be doing Bioshock Infinite Gunless, or in other words, the bad category. We're going to go ahead and get started since we have quite a bit to get through, but I will explain what precisely makes this run so volatile as we go along. We will be playing on easy because Lord help us if we do it on any other difficulty that's harder than that. So let's go ahead and get started. We have to wait for the timer to start as soon as the logo goes away, but we can get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. All right.
Are you afraid
Thank you
of
so
God?
much. So, yes, this is Bioshock Infinite Gunless. This is not Bioshock 1. If you are familiar with Bioshock 1, you know that the wrench is probably one of the most satisfying weapons in all of FPS history. It's extremely powerful and is a welcome addition to the arsenal of Jack as he traverses through Rapture. The same, unfortunately, cannot be said about the skyhook in Bioshock Infinite. The skyhook is a magnetized hook that Booker likes to use to punch his enemies to death. We will be seeing a little bit of punching, but it is called gunless. It's not called melee only. Thank gosh for that. We will have access to our vigors, which are the plasmid equivalents from Bioshock 1. We'll have access to all of them. And, there is a category that seems like it would be worse on the surface. We do actually have a low percent category, which means that you are only allowed to pick up the skyhook, and you are only allowed to pick up 2 of the required vigors. We have access to Devil's Kiss and Shock Jockey in low percent. Luckily, in Gunless, we have access to all of the plasmids or vigors in the game, but it would seem weird to say that Gunless is the worst category of the game. I still stand by that, because it's the category where everything can just go wrong. Unlike low percent, where there's, it's annoying, but you can get through the end without too much hassle if you know what you're doing. With Gunless, you are in an extremely volatile position at all times. There's an extremely heavy, RNG-heavy, not even a trick, it's just a roll that you just have to get. There is a trick in the Finken segment that seems to be completely arbitrary as to what the correct conditions for completion are. There is another trick in the Lady Comstock fighting segment where you must hopefully defeat an enemy so that you may unlock a door before Elizabeth gets distracted and aggroed. There are so many things that can just go wrong in Gunless that it is just, like I said, it's very volatile. And that leads me into the second reason that I wanted to show this particular category off. The host, Anarchy, very generously gave me an option as to what category I would like to perform. I was given the option of this category, Bioshock Infinite Gunless, or I could have done Bayonetta 3 90% New Game Plus. That would have been an interesting showcase, but the reason that I chose this one is I would like to take the time, essentially, to proselytize the fact that Gulch 2 will be running Bioshock Infinite any percent HRH mod, which is the fastest category of the game, at SGDQ 2026. I believe it will take place on Monday at 11:30 local time in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So be on the lookout for that. And the reason that this category makes sense with relation to that is, while that is probably the best category of the game, this is by far the worst category of the game. Things can go horribly wrong. While there is no real danger of that happening in any percent HRH that is done on the PC. Something else that should be noted is that I'm doing this on the console. I'm not doing this on PC. I'm doing this on console, which means that we don't have access to the HRH mod. Of all the things that can go wrong in Gunless, one of the most annoying is the necessity to roll for a very specific gear. If you're familiar with this game, gear are like sort of passive power-ups that you can get throughout this game. There you can have 4 equipped at any given time, and they fall into 4 distinct categories. What's interesting about that is, in most of the categories of this game, bar low percent and gunless, low percent and gearless, excuse me, you have to grind for a gear that you find in the world and you can equip it. That sounds interesting, because if it's in the world, surely you should just be able to equip it to yourself. Unfortunately, that is not the case on console. On console, the gears are random. In fact, they're random on the PC as well. But the reason that's so bad on console is that you don't have access to the mod that gives you the gear that you want. So while on any percent HRH mod that Gulch will be performing in SGDQ, you are permitted to use a mod to give yourself the Hillburner's hat gear. Console has no such luxury. We will be forced to grind incessantly for a 1 in 50 chance over and over and over again. It is so bad that it is the conversation in Bioshock Infinite speedrunning that essentially gave rise to the HRH mod in the first place, which has made it by far the most popular category. So it's so bad on console that we're actually I have a second save loaded. So this may not be an RTA run unless I get it like first or second try, because I certainly don't want to subject you to just grinding for HRH, or drop cloth in our case. I have sat literally for 30 minutes attempting to grind for this gear. I will not do that to you, I promise. So I do have a second save, a third save, furthermore, just in case something happens to go wrong. Which, let's be honest, it's a 1 in 50 chance it probably will go wrong. Okay. We're playing as Booker DeWitt. And we have landed in the land of Columbia, not Raptor this time. We are going to traverse our way through the opening segment here and talk to the wedding at the end of the baptism segment before we enter Columbia proper.
Let's keep such questions to myself. And
every year.
So yes, like I said, this run is effectively going to be an advertisement as to what makes Gulch's run so awesome and so cool. I'm basically going to be the foil, the heel, if you will, relative to that run. I will explain every single thing that the console gunless run has worse off than the PC version, and trust me, the list is very long.
I just need passage into the city.
Passage to the city.
If you want to see Bioshock Infinite played in the slowest possible fashion right now, in a couple months you'll be able to see it performed in the quickest fashion that we have available to us. So yes, do put Gulch's run on your calendar, and it will be a fantastic run, done by a fantastic runner as well.
In the name of our prophet,
To confirm, Bioshock Infinite is currently on the schedule for about 11:30 on Monday night, on the first night of the event. So that's gonna be a really good run. Gulch is a really awesome runner. I'm also really excited to watch 100%
this one doesn't look clean.
Yeah, Gulch is such a sweet person. I obviously run this game, and I think one of Gulch's first actions when he learned that Bioshock Infinite was accepted into as GDQ 2026 was to just DM me, say, hey, would you like to be on commentary? And that was very sweet of him. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be there, but I'm sure he'll have great support regardless. All right, so after we get accosted by a priest, we're going to wake up. And do just a couple movement things as we make our way to the main island of Columbia.
The idiot priest needs to learn the difference between baptizing a man and drowning
He
him.
who crossed the Delaware.
Paragon of I need to find a landmark and figure out where the hell I am. Just because the city flies don't mean it.
All right, first trick that we can do as we make it to the big island over there is perform a jump that skips over a bit of a trigger and loading zone. Wait for a certain note in the music. Very good. Jump over to the right, and we can skip having to wait for that platform to move all the way down before moving on. Now, I said the list of things that the PC run has that are better than the console run is vast, and it starts here, actually. On the PC, you are able to effectively slide through a lot of loading zones, this barrier being one of them. So if you were on the PC, you would simply look down here, and with the excessive number of frames that you have on the PC version, you would simply slide past the barrier, walk on air, and make your way over to the next segment of the game. We are on console, we have no such frames, so we are actually required to sit here and wait. Obviously, we can optimize it as best as we can, but, if we were able to skip it, man, would that just be awesome. Now we're going to wait for the word righteousness and then jump over the barrier just as soon as that word is over. Good. Oh, maybe not quite so good. All right, you're able to jump over the barrier and enter the loading zone once that gets hit.
Raffle and fair.
He's strong in the sword, but a bit weak in the key.
Coming up, we have a short cutscene where we are interrupted by the Lutesses and their errand boy. But after that, we'll actually get to see one of the easiest and coolest tricks of this game. It's probably one of my favorites. If you are a fan of this game and think that you could do it faster than me on Gunless, then I would really recommend that you just see if this trick is viable for you, if you can get this trick in a couple tries, because it is just emblematic of how very broken this game is. I hate to break it to you all, but this game is in fact 13 years old. Doesn't that just suck to hear? And so we're going to abuse the fact that it has been so long with the different programming standards and jump on this possession sign and make our way over here so we get to avoid the rather infamous cutscene that introduces us to the main plot of this game. Now, I said that we would be playing this game on the console and without a gun, but like I said, we're able to still use figures. And luckily, since we're playing on the enhanced version of this game, I believe it's called the Complete Edition or something to that effect, we're going to be given access to the DLC items. We're going to be given access to 5 figures, which increases our magic power, essentially, as well as a few extra gears that we will be using throughout the rest of the run. So yeah, we're going to be collecting salt infusions here, not health and not shields. That's very important because we actually want our health and shields to be as low as possible. Then pick up 4 gears before we leave the Lutesses area. One of which is Sugar Rush, which we're going to be using to perform a trick here. Normally our progress would be halted by this airship that's coming in, but with the Sugar Rush speed boost that you get by collecting food, ideally what would have happened is we would have been able to latch onto that last hook before the airship got in our way. We weren't quite able to get there, but it was pretty close. Now, unfortunately, this does mean that Bioshock Infinite does become a bit of a slot machine simulator, so it becomes a let's go gambling simulator, if you will. Basically, the vast majority of this run will be spent attempting to grab food from the random drops in this game. pretty unfortunate that a lot of speed is hidden behind random RNG drops, but you know, that's how it goes sometimes. It's like an RPG speedrun. Luckily, there are some instances of confirmed food, like you saw, there's just a bottle of something, I don't exactly know what, soda probably, just sitting on that trash can. That is confirmed food, and we know where all the confirmed food locations are. So we'll be using this to the best of our ability. Another confirmed apple right there in the rotting pile of fruit. I'm not sure that was the most nutritious, but you know, it helps us out, so we're not going to complain about it. Now, we do want to make sure that we pick up some extra infusions that are along the way, because, you know, we want to be avoiding punching things as much as possible. Because punching is slow, and our vigors are very powerful. So you could think of me as sort of a, you know, this makes me out to be like I'm some sort of like sword slashing warrior or barbarian, but think of me more as a mage. This is like turning Bioshock Infinite into like a mage or wizard simulator. More soda there that we can drink, and we will come across, weirdly enough, our first enemy of the game, really. It's going to be against a crow. Devil's Kiss, the fire power-up that we picked up before on that table, has 2 levels. You can either throw it or you can set a trap. We're going to set 2 traps in here, and on easy mode, by turning away and looking at the assaults thing, he will run into it or teleport into it and will die instantly.
Kind of vigor.
Now, we will be picking up gears here, not because we're actually going to use them. That seems counterintuitive, but remember, the gear drop is in fact random. It's 1 in 50, so if you are a statistician, you know that the best way to increase your odds is to remove things from the pool. That is to say, make the independent rolls as low as humanly possible. So we're going to be collecting, I believe, 3 gears along. That's not true. That's going to be somewhere. It's going to be 4. We're going to be collecting 4 gears along the way before we actually get to the proper place where we grind for Help Furnace Hat, or in this case, Drop Claw. Do a bit of a jump here, turn around to reduce lag, but we're not on the PC, so that doesn't matter quite as much to us. Now, I'm not sure if this is just a PC-only trick, but I've certainly never gotten it to work. We're going to pull this lever and wedge ourselves into a very specific corner here, and hopefully, yeah, on the PC version, I think it's a lot more consistent. You are able to use that, I guess you could call it a bit of cargo on the rails and sort of push yourself with extreme speed down the railing. Not exactly viable for us, unfortunately. But it doesn't really matter because we're going to be picking up yet another gear behind the desk here. I'm not sure how you're actually supposed to find that. That seems pretty enigmatic, but whatever. Pick up that second gear so that our chances of getting drop cloth later down the line are a little bit higher. And we will skyhook our way to yet another bit of a skip with the Comstock cutscene, very infamous Comstock cutscene. You might have noticed that we never actually picked up the skyhook, but the reason that you're allowed to pick up Devil's Kiss and the skyhook in low percent is because the game will just automatically give them to you eventually. So even though we never pick up the skyhook, it's still essentially part of our arsenal. You could call it part of our standard arsenal, even though there's a cutscene that's supposed to technically be the trigger. Speaking of the skip here, we're going to throw some fireballs in. That might be a bit too high. It was too high. We're going to be throwing some fireballs into the little doorway that you see down in the... I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure what the name of this blimp is, but it's a blimp. The goal of which... That should work. The goal of which is to basically spawn camp a set of enemies. Once that set of enemies have died because of the spawn camp, there will be some enemies left still. However, you're not allowed to interact with levers or doors or anything that requires Elizabeth or any other thing like that, unless the enemies are not aggro to you. So by killing a very specific set of enemies in that first thing, you are hopefully able to skip having to destroy the rest of the enemies and simply unlock the door, even though the enemies were technically aggro to you. So let's see if we got it.
Holy shit.
That's a good explosion. Dismount. Did we get the dialogue? We did get the dialogue. Wonderful. So that skips the need to kill the rest of the enemies, which ordinarily would not be so bad on any other run that requires that, gives you the option to use a gun. But without a gun, you would be just running up and punching them in the face, which is very slow.
So I don't have to.
Nice.
Amen.
Amen.
Jesus!
Coming up is the Monument Island section, and I actually was not on Hotfix too long ago performing yet another category of Bioshock Infinite. I was performing Gearless, and in Gearless, as the name might imply, you're simply not allowed to pick up any of the gears. That makes for a significantly better speedrun on console. It makes it a little bit more consistent, and does not require you to grind endlessly for a 1 in 50 chance. So I mentioned in that run that I was under the impression there was some cut content in the Monument Island section, because it's not like there's really a ton to do here. We're going to pick up a couple of power-ups, a couple more enigmatic power-ups, you might say. But for the most part, we'll just be sort of cruising here. So if you have any announcements or news items to bring up from the host, now would be a fantastic time.
Of course. Yeah, as we were talking about, Bioshock Infinite is going to be at SGDQ 2026, which we're all very excited to watch. So Summer Games 2026, Summer Games Done Quick 2026, there we go, will be live in Minneapolis, Minnesota from July 5th through the 11th. So you can visit gdq.gg to learn more or register for the event. You can also check out the schedule at gdq.gg/schedule, which is awesome. Also, as we were talking about, the AAPI celebration, Heritage Celebration was this past weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and it was absolutely amazing. So if you missed that or you missed any other Hotfix shows or marathons, you can go to youtube.com/gamesdonequick. And if you're watching this on YouTube now, you can consider liking, subscribing, or becoming a channel member to support GDQ, which is always awesome. We'd love to have you.
That's her.
Now, it's worth mentioning, let's put this on list item number 2 or 3 on things that make the console run significantly worse than PC. We actually have to go through the segment as intended. We have to watch all these Elizabeth cutscenes, and we have to traverse our way up Monument Island. The PC version uses, I believe it's called a super jump or a super bounce, something to that effect, and is able to jump on top of a lot of the railings in this section. I'll look up so you can see what I mean. There's a lot of railings and stuff you see up there, yes? So the PC version will use these bounces and jumps to get on top of them, so we don't actually have to wait around for these cutscenes and traverse our way up the tower as intended. So, man, I wish we had those, but, playing on Switch 2, you get a little more frames. It's more consistently 30 FPS, but if you're wondering how many frames are required to perform a full, proper PC run of the game, I believe it's somewhere around 300 frames. The more, the better. The Switch 2 is certainly more powerful than the Switch 1, but it is by no means powerful enough to handle 300 frames. So
Whatever that was.
we will be stuck in no man's land here a little bit, but that's fine by me. I'm not built for PC speedruns. I like my controllers too much.
This job's getting worse all the time.
I know you do runs of a similar caliber to this, right, Anarchy? Do you prefer to use KBM or a controller?
Yeah, personally, I'm a big keyboard and mouse person. The first game I ever did a speedrun of was on console, and I used controller, but I've since switched to PC, and playing with a controller, I'm not gonna lie, feels very foreign now to me. But yeah, I really enjoy the freedom of using a mouse and being able to do all that, so.
Not here to hurt you.
Who are you?
My name is
Yeah,
I'm a friend.
now I will say, the one benefit, there is not much benefit to using a controller in this game. I have been prompted to do PC runs with controller, but that's kind of hard as well, because you need a scroll wheel, and I know the Switch 2 has like a mouse functionality, but it doesn't work for this game. One thing I will say though is there are many categories of Bioshock Infinite. Any percent, all collectibles, 100%, gearless, low percent, 100%. I think I already said that one. Glitchless. There's tons of different categories, no major glitches.
Give it to me.
One of my most satisfying achievements in speedrunning this game is one of the category extensions of this game that we call one-handed. You would think that speedrunning it on controller would technically be faster than using KBM, but with using KBM, they make those mice, whatever, that have like an entire keyboard on the like left-hand side of them, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if the world record holder for one-handed on PC utilized that entire 70 key keyboard on the left side of the mouse, but it would be worth considering if anyone wanted to come back to one-handed, because I literally to do this one-handed on console, I have to turn my controller over and drag the joysticks across the table and just do
Oh my goodness, yeah,
just ridiculous things like that. So.
Call the elevator.
The PC gets all the glory, but honestly, for good reason. I'm not really going to complain about it.
Yeah, you talked about there being a lot of categories for this game. Do you have a particular favorite?
All this time.
Yeah, I think gearless is my favorite on console. If I was running PC, then probably any percentage rate would be fine. But with gearless, it means that I don't have to grind for Hill Furnace Hunt. Even though it's a little bit of a slower category, not as many skips that you can do, it is the most consistent. And for a speedrun, and I would prefer consistency over having to roll the 1 in 50 chance for upwards of 30 minutes. So that's definitely my preferred method.
This way.
Alright, so after Songbird, our arch nemesis for the game, has accosted us a little bit, and you climb back up the tower.
We have to keep moving. He's tearing the building apart.
Careful, Elizabeth.
Exit on top, and then we're going to be doing something that doesn't actually save time RTA, but is really important for runs that are done LRT. The mod team for this game is very, very kind in the sense that they will actually calculate LRT for you on console. That is a luxury that is not afforded to many games, as I understand it. So we're going to make use of that. Reload our checkpoint because the game refuses to give us our forward our maximum forward speed. So we will simply take advantage of that. Reload to give ourselves that speed again, and watch this cutscene, the music of which seems to always get comments whenever I stream this.
Someone did note in chat, even though this game is 13 years old, which makes me feel really old, and I'm not even that old, this is still a really, really good looking game. The art direction for this just really holds up after all this time.
Yeah, I mostly agree with that. I would say that if you look at it from a distance, it looks fantastic. There's you might remember back when we were waiting for the rail guards on the bridge to open up. There's a food stand right next to that, and there are a bunch of square melons, like they're very angular melons and tomatoes and stuff like that. So upon any scrutiny, it can be a little bit rough, but from a distance, it looks fantastic. I remember when I used to play this game, I would never actually do this, but I would fantasize, I guess, about just having a fan in my face as I was playing it, because on the sky rails, because they were so interesting. I wish they were used a little bit more. All right, Elizabeth, or Anna, as Booker will call her for a little bit.
No, it's me, Elizabeth. Are you all right?
Where am I?
Now, one thing I will say about the PC version is that the PC version also has to sort of roll for the,
Almost drowned. You need
shall we
I
say,
said I'm fine.
random food drops as well for Sugar Rush. They don't get out of that one as easily as the other things. But this is actually a good point to mention. There were 3 other gears that we picked up besides Sugar Rush. One of them was called Fleet Feet, which we will not see until the very end of the run. One of what's called Handyman Nemesis, which, if you're familiar with the game, Handyman are extremely tough and very healthy enemies, which we would like to do as much damage to as possible. And then the final one is Electric Punch. That one is a DLC specific gear, as the others are. Hey, we got some food there, nice.
Blue skirt. No?
But there is a non-DLC version of it in the game called Electric Touch. That gear provides you, I believe, a 50% chance of inflicting electric stun when you punch an enemy, but Electric Punch ups that to 70%. So it feels really bad when you punch an enemy and you don't get that electric stun, because 70% is a lot. I mean, okay, think of it this way. If any of you are Pokemon Champions players right now, you have probably gotten hit by a rock slide and just rage that it didn't flinch you. That 30% chance is the opposite of what the 70% chance is whenever you go to punch enemy with Electric Punch on. Jump over the boat to the right. Hopefully this barrel or this basket will give us some food. It did not. It gave us machine gun ammo, which is absolutely useless for us in this run. And a whopping $1.
Mr. DeWitt, Comstock. I've read about him.
All right, coming up, there is a skip that we can do. I'll go for it once now that we have Sugar Rush. I wasn't able to go for it in Gearless, but it's a really tough trick. All right, there is food here.
Nothing beats the cage.
Surely we got it, right? No, of course not. Yeah, that trick is really tough. In fact, I think the PC runners don't even really go for it consistently. You need for there to be food, which is already an RNG element, but it's just a really precise lineup to get from that barrel onto the top of the awning to skip this cutscene that you're currently watching.
If you're going to be a sore loser, then I shan't do this again.
Oh my god!
All right. Hopefully we get some food and money. Money and food. Good. Unlock that as fast as we can. Hopefully there's food in here. There is. So once Elizabeth unlocks this door, we will use our
You're a roguish type. What does this look like? Done.
Sugar Rush ability to zoom through this segment and pick up 2 extra gears. Now, this is the place where we would actually start being able to collect Drop Clop. So it would be really awesome and cool if we did pick up Drop Clop in these 2 gear pickups, but I'm not holding my breath. Like I said, 1 in 50 is pretty high. Yeah, unfortunate, but that's totally fine by us. It was expected going in. There are a couple places where you can catch that coin of Elizabeth's. We actually did skip over it on our way. I prefer to collect it there just because it makes the interaction with this cutscene a little bit faster. The optimal position is to do it in this corner here, so when you catch the coin, the cutscene will trigger instantly. I found that to be slightly less consistent, and I just decide to just be more consistent rather than go as fast as possible.
Park's closing. Park's closing, everyone.
Excuse me.
These shoes sure could benefit.
Okay, well, if you've been paying attention, we're actually going to be entering the second fight of the game. How long has it been?
About 30-ish minutes.
30-ish minutes? Awesome. Yeah, this is the second fight of the game.
Yeah, I have it.
Now, normally this fight will be done really fast with some, aim assist machine gun action, but we don't have access to the machine gun, so we're going to wait for the enemy to jump from the ceiling while Elizabeth is stuck in that cutscene, throw a fireball, and hopefully that kills the last guy. It didn't quite hit him. He can move either left or right, and I think he just went in the wrong direction that time. That's okay. Not too fast. Or not too slow, rather. Pick up as much money and salts and health as we can here. Doesn't look like we're gonna get full magic, so I might have to pick up a little bit extra on our way.
Shoot to kill!
And while we wait for this gate to open up, we can charge a fireball. Hopefully that guy doesn't get in our way. Take out these guys and hope that they have some extra food for us so that we can... Hey, more food, look at that. So that we can race Elizabeth all the way to the gondola so that we don't have to wait for some extra animations.
You killed those people. I can't believe you did that. They're all dead. You killed those people.
We did have a question from chat if you would like to answer.
What did you think was gonna happen?
Aside from HRH mod, this person asks if Bioshock Infinite speedruns have been consistent for a while. Have they changed quite a bit over since the game is so old? 13 years is a long time for a speedrun to change.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. There's one thing that we're still holding out a hope for. You might have recalled me saying that low percent includes getting the Skyhook,
If you don't draw
Devil's
first,
Kiss, and Shock Jockey.
you don't get
We
to
would
draw.
really love to find a Shock Jockey skip so we don't have to go to Hall of Heroes. But
You're bleeding. Come here.
beyond that, the game has even changed a lot since its last showing at GDQ. Oh man, I don't remember what year that
That's not
was.
the last of it, is it?
Was it? Someone can correct me or someone can look it up. I believe the last run of this game at a main stage GDQ event was 2019? Question mark? Maybe someone can look that up and confirm. But it's been a long time. And there have been many changes to the run since then, which is, I think, why a significant portion as to why it's gotten accepted into this particular event. One of the most interesting things is wall clips, which thankfully the Switch version can also do. So you'll be seeing a couple bits of new tech as we go along.
Shut up tight. Now, how are we going to get to the airship?
Let me see if I can get
We are going
that
to pick up
gate
some
open by
lockpicks to
hand.
make sure that we can actually grind for drop cloth. As we open up this gate, I did mess up a little bit of a trick there. Ideally, you run backwards and sort of overwrite the cutscene so that we can open up the gate a little bit faster, but it's not too big of a deal on Gunless since we need to pick up those lockpicks anyway. I'll pick up some extra magic here, like I said, before we move on to a really, really cool segment called Resetting for Hillrunners hat / drop cloth for hopefully not that long.
Close.
Yes, Mr. DeWitt.
Call me Pip.
These are Skyhook to jump down. There. Okay, while I am getting to that point in the story, I will say that there is one gear that can absolutely ruin your run. The first gears that you pick up automatically get applied to your person if they're in a separate category of gear.
Come see the
So
future.
one gear that you can accidentally get is called Firebird. And what Firebird does is that whenever you unmount from a Skyhook or a Skyrail, there's a big plume of fire that sort of radiates out from you. That sounds like it would be a good thing, but remember how I said that enemies that are aggroed will prevent you from activating levers and opening doors, etc. We absolutely want to make sure that enemies are not aggroed before we hit that lever that I just pulled. Otherwise, we would actually have to do a fight, then return to pull the lever. It would be absolutely atrocious. So whenever I do a gunless run, I pray that one of the gears that we pick up are not Firebird, and we were lucky this
A
time.
better idea.
Nice.
Wait, what are you doing?
Also, I did look it up, and we had a chatter who was also correct. The last time that Bioshock Infinite was in a mainline was SGDQ 2020,
What
I see.
which really hurts my heart because that also was 6 years ago,
To another
almost.
world.
So
Most of the time, they're dull as
That
dishwasher.
stops for no one.
Different colored
That stops for no one.
instead of coffee.
Ain't that the truth?
But sometimes
very.
I see something amazing, and I pull it through. There.
Good God. I don't suppose you've got an airship in there?
I don't think so. But there is. There is something. Oh no!
Close it.
I'm trying!
Close it!
Okay. So we have a bit of a fight in Soldier's
I
Field.
don't really understand what I just saw back there, but it sure as hell looks like a shortcut to getting us killed.
But I can
And we're
help.
going to be absolutely
handle whatever
using our
comes
Devil's Kiss
along.
traps here. It also makes a bigger explosion than it would if you were destroying it normally. Take out those first groups of enemies there. Run up to this guy, and hopefully we get an electric punch. We didn't. Awesome. 270% chance missed. Awesome. Prepare one fireball for these 4 enemies here. That takes out 3 of them. It should have been all 4 of them. That's totally fine. Man, I am getting super unlucky with the electric punches today. What's going on? We want to take out that, and as well as the enemy behind it. And then the crow will come down and try to take it out. But, ooh, he actually dodged. Look at him. But he ran right into my fireball. Good job. Pick up Murder of Crows. We will be needing that for the handyman coming up in a few minutes.
Okay.
And once we've taken out all the enemies,
I think those
we are
stairs
going
appears
to
might
now
come in handy next time we're in a scrap.
grind for drop cloth. I hope you are all excited, because I'm not. So we're on a bit of a timer here. We want to make sure that we open up the door as quickly as possible so that the distance between us and the gear is as little as possible. That's not too bad. So, ordinarily in a speedrun, what you would do is you would sit in this room for however long it takes and
Hall of Heroes.
to whatever that you get drop cloth. Like I said, I will not subject you to that, but it would be really cool if I got it within 10.
Heroes.
So that's 3. And remember, I've done this for 30 minutes sometimes without it actually showing up. So 10 would be phenomenal.
Hall of Heroes.
And that's 4.
Skyline to the Hall of Heroes.
And that's 5.
Take the skyline to the Hall of Heroes.
That's hilarious that I got Hillrunner's hat, but not drop cloth.
Wow.
Yeah, Hillrunner's hat is the one that you want to pick up in literally every single other category of this game except for this one. So, yeah, we do need drop cloth, unfortunately.
Skyline to the Hall of Heroes.
I believe that was 9, right? Maybe it was 8.
8.
8.
Take the skyline to the Hall of Heroes.
9. All right, one more try. One more try. Surely. Surely. Surely.
Skyline to the Hall of Heroes.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and make you and subject you to that. We're just going to load up another save where we do have drop cloth. You might be wondering what drop cloth does. Drop cloth is a gear that gives you a bit of a speed boost whenever you dismount from a skyhook or a sky railing. Very niche gear, but it's a gear that's absolutely vital to the run. A little bit ways down the line. All right. Welcome back, Bioshock Infinite. So at least I guess this means that I don't have to worry about it being a PB. Silver linings. All right. Where is it? Hall of Heroes. There it is. So yeah, if you're wondering what having to do this does skip because the checkpoint system in this game is a little bit awkward, all it really skips is like a short running segment to get to the Hall of Heroes. But now that we're here, we can just continue the run as if we had entered the Hall of Heroes. What we're going to do is run up to this pillar here, hopefully, so Elizabeth will start her cutscene as soon as possible. And just set up some fireball traps and a crow trap here, so that when we leave the arena, we don't actually have to worry about taking out enemies who might be in our way.
Well, I'll be.
Refill on magic,
Is that you?
and just go on a little bit of a hunting spree for any extra money. Doesn't look like we're getting any.
Caught up in some kind of jam here. If you could see fit to let us through to where they keep the shock jockey, then we'll...
That tin soldier, Comstock. Once my boy's dead, we won't die at his hands.
Alright, so in this fight, the first wave of enemies will be immediately blown up by our traps, and then there's going to be a second wave of enemies behind them, which hopefully the second fireball will take out. There's Fern, and there's 2. Good. Ooh, that looked like a lot of money. I will go back and pick that up. Now, normally what I would be doing here... Oh, never mind. I guess he lived the gigantic fire explosion somehow. Whatever. What can you do? Anyway, so now that we've picked up an extra vigor, this time Bucking Bronco, which we'll only be using once or twice, we will be performing a death warp in this segment. If you're familiar with Bioshock Infinite speedrunning, this is probably one of the most famous death warps. But it's, well, on gunless, gearless, literally every single other category in this game, it would take 2 seconds. It's going to take us several minutes. The idea behind death warps in this game is that you must have a method of dealing damage to yourself. Otherwise, you can't do a death warp. There's no real easy way to die. Now, there is a way to die, and that's if enemies hit you. So we're going to need to orchestrate a very particular enemy to knock us through the door instead of using the rocket launcher like we normally would in any other run of this game. Set up a few fireball traps to take out these smaller enemies, and then I will give you what you came for, which is a lot of punching. Luckily, since you have electric punch, the enemy will be basically stun locked into oblivion, will eventually die, and this will give us access to the next segment of the Hall of Heroes, which we will not be doing. There are 2 segments, one left, one to the right. We're only going to be doing the left one because it's a shorter fight and gives us access to be able to perform the death warp a little bit faster. You'll see what I mean.
Who are the ghost dancers?
Wounded knee. He means us to head to the
Okay,
evidence
so as we make our way back to the main hall, we're going to take out this enemy and take out the remaining 2 enemies that are coming out of the Battle of Wounded Knee segment. Once they're gone, the remaining enemy will deal a lot of damage to us, especially since we change our difficulty to hard, specifically for this one trick. And we would love for him to deal damage to us. A little bit more than that, sir. A little bit more than that, sir.
Get that stuff!
Lovely. We're going to stand just before the entranceway. And hopefully that should take us through. Good. Now we can change our difficulty back to easy and we continue along with the run.
Nice.
And that trick is actually a little bit more precise than it may look. You can go not far enough as well as too far. So you need to just make sure that you are being very meticulous with where you stand. Otherwise, you have to redo literally everything that we just did, which is obviously very bad. Now, list item number 50 million of this game as to why any percent on PC is better than the console. With the Hillrunner's hat as well as a rocket launcher, you are able to skip all of this segment that we're going to do, where you get to skip literally all of it. But since we are on gunless and we don't have access to any of those things, we are going to actually have to do all of this stuff in the plaza. The only thing that we need to do is get Shock Jockey from Slate, who is behind us or will materialize behind us. But until that happens, we are pretty much forced to engage with the game as it so desires us first.
Is that?
It's a tear, something I can bring into this world.
It's a freight hook.
Yeah, so everything that you've just seen,
It's a form of wish fulfillment.
all of that death warping stuff, all of that setup for the death warp, all of that can be done in about 5 seconds, and we had to spend 3 minutes. So, like I said, this run is effectively just a big shout out to Gulch and that run that's coming up in SGDQ, because you get to see perhaps the slowest and worst run of Bioshock Infinite, all the way to the fastest and best category of Bioshock Infinite. So I hope you're all excited for that, because I know I will be cheering Gulch on from the sidelines.
There are a lot of people who
take out.
Sorry, there are a lot of people who are both excited for that and for this run as well. You're getting a lot of love in chat as well. So just wanted
Good to hear.
Check it out.
Thank you. Alright, so we did need to make sure that we took out the turret, because that turret will still stand, even if the rest of the enemies are despawned once we begin this next segment of the fight. We're going to throw 6 fireballs down, because, you know, this is a speedrun. We don't need to have honor for our opponents. We can spawn camp them, it doesn't matter. This isn't Valorant or Overwatch or anything like that. Although, do people have honor for each other when you play Valorant or Overwatch? That's a question.
Having played both for quite a long time, no.
No. Okay. Thank you for being honest. Now, if we had a rocket launcher, we would actually death warp right here, because it would make Elizabeth open the door a little bit faster. But again, no gun, so we will just patiently sit here and watch Elizabeth do her work.
He's coming for me. And when I'm gone, all that will be left is the lie.
Just give us what we came for.
Oh, come on.
Done.
Thank you. Pick up a couple extra salts, and then we will be unfortunately having to do this big fight that comes up with Slate and his large gauntlet of enemies. Now, I say that, but there is a extremely small chance that Slate will actually open this door for us by throwing some shock jockey onto that terminal there. Extremely unlikely for that to happen, but it would be super cool if it did happen, because it means I don't actually have to do this fight. I don't think it's going to happen for us, though. So we will just set up our
won't satisfy
fight
him.
as best we can.
He won't rest until he's turned us into tin. I won't let him.
Yeah, ideally one of those would actually land in that terminal,
Just give us the vigor.
and we would be able to leave this fight immediately, but no such luck. And that's okay.
A soldier's death awaits.
Okay, so there's going to be someone who spawns there, throw a fireball there.
Hey, stop! Hold him there!
Punch, electric punch, please. And then one more to jump in front of us. Good. Next, there's going to be a bunch of enemies coming from this door. So we will set one fireball trap to take out the first wave of enemies, and then we'll have Murder of Crows out so that we can do yet another boxing match with the fireman enemy in this area. There's the explosion, Murder of Crows, and then we just start punching. Eagle-eyed viewers may notice that the enemy's health bar actually depletes to 0, even though I'm still punching the enemy. There's actually a pretty important reason for that. Fireman enemies, if you take them to 0 HP and then just sort of leave them be, what ends up happening is that they'll sort of do this whole animation where they run at you and explode, and it takes a lot of time. So by punching the enemy repeatedly, eventually the game will just give up trying to play that animation, and just the enemy will die. Wow, he survived. That's interesting. That's alright. It's probably like 1 health, right? Yeah, look at that. Awesome. It's always by the skin of one's teeth, right?
Show me what you're made of.
Alright, so if Slate was nice to us and gave us a little bit of RNG roll with that shock jockey, we would have been able to skip all of that fight, but luckily that fight's not too long, especially since we know where all the enemies are going to spawn. We will be picking up, however, the last technically required item of this game, which is going to be shock jockey.
You're not done here, soldier. Eat everything that's on your plate. Finish it.
Luckily, sparing Slate. I know we have. Okay, first of all, I know we're picking up a gun. Don't worry, we don't actually have to use it. It's just a cutscene gun. It's fine. We're still on gunless. We would actually have to use it if we opted to kill Slate instead of sparing him, but we wouldn't actually get access to the gun afterwards. So we're safe on both fronts, thankfully. All right, hope for some food. We got a pear. That's nice. And then we're going to shock jockey the water for these 2 enemies coming up so that we can hopefully get some more drops. Food. Soda. I'll take soda. And you might be wondering why it's possible to go too far in that death loop that we did. If you go too far, you see that there's still metal bars there, right? Those metal bars would actually prevent you from leaving. So you need to make sure that you go just far enough to activate the next segment of the game, but not too far to the fact that enemies will not permit you to leave. And that's why you need to be very precise and do that trick. Alright, so the reason why shock jockey skip is the reason that we want shock jockey skip so much is because literally everything you have seen from me pulling the shock jockey lever to going to the Hall of Heroes to returning to the Hall of Heroes can all be avoided. Do you have any sense as to how long it's been since I started doing that segment? Probably around like 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes of the run would be cut down if that was found, which would be pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie.
Absolutely.
We're gonna wait here on the edge of this railing here for a skyhook prompt, or a sky rail prompt, I guess. Jump down, attach up here, hit this enemy down here. Hopefully, oh, well, he got electric punch, so we don't actually get to pick up anything he drops, so we'll just be running at normal speed. Back, all the way back to the one lever that we pulled like 15 minutes ago. It's ridiculous how much time it would save.
I don't think I understand how you do what you do. These tears.
Alright. In addition, I believe maybe it wouldn't actually let us skip this fight, but it would be really cool if it did let us skip this fight. This fight can be really annoying, and even more annoying on gunless. luckily we know where most of the enemies are going to spawn. So we are going to play lame and subsequently win the game. Set up some fireball traps on this, like, I don't know what you call this platform. And then there's going to be one additional set of enemies that want to land on this platform. So we're going to set one more fireball trap here.
Between what we're seeing and what is.
One interesting interaction with Electric Punch is that enemies that you hit off of a sky rail seem to always get electric punched, which takes out big enemies in one hit. So there's going to be one rocket launcher enemy here, so hopefully we can take him out. Nice, he dies immediately. Or at least I think he did. I'm actually gonna go double check that. Yeah, he did. Okay, awesome. Killing him instantly will bring this second, I guess you could call it a flying gondola here, a little bit faster. They're a little bit too close to use the sky rail interaction that I just mentioned, so we're just gonna go and just good old-fashioned punch them to death, or off the cliff. That also works. And then we're gonna play a little bit of Bioshock Infinite tower defense. There's gonna be a lot of enemies that are gonna spawn directly to where we are because we have all of these traps that are set up. And there's the first one. There's going to be two additional ones from this rail. Punch, punch, nice. No electric punch, that's cool. And then there's going to be two more that attach on the railing here, so we're going to go on the railing and subsequently hit them with our skyline strike. And that'll be the end of the first phase. Second phase should mostly be taken out by the fireballs that we left on that platform up there. There's the first set. They die. There's a couple more that are on fire, hilariously. They will also die. Alright, one seemed to escape my grasp, but no big deal. And the reason that's no big deal is because there is one more enemy that we have to take out, and it is this Iron Patriot who's going to be very slowly jaunting over here. So we can try to spawn camp him with a couple fireball traps. That should work, yes? Please die. Alright, I have one more chance. Surely this works. Nope, it missed. That's fine.
Unlucky.
Unlucky. That's actually not too... Oh, I am actually very low on health. Surely there's health in here, right? Oh yeah, a banana and a pear, yeah. That's certainly enough to stave off the damage of many bullet wounds. Alright. Oh, he was literally one hit away. That's very awesome.
Give me a second.
Alright, so what we wanted to make sure that we did there is activate this as fast as possible so that Elizabeth would automatically run over to this gondola and we wouldn't have to wait. Now, I'm not sure what causes it, but sometimes this door is left open, which is really good for gunless. It doesn't matter for any other category of this game, because once you reach a certain threshold, you perform a death warp and it spawns you all the way at the top of the gondola ride. So, unfortunately, we are extremely limited in our gunless capacity, but, you know.
How do you think I ended up here? I gambled.
I did promise you the worst category of Bioshock Infinite, so.
I come here to pay it back. Me busting you
Consider
out.
me
What do you think that was?
one of my word.
Who sent you?
Somebody who was willing to take my marker in exchange for you.
So after this dialogue exchange for you, you would normally just, excuse me, damage yourself down to 0. And you would just spawn all the way up there. But with no gun, there's no real way to damage yourself down to 0, so we will simply be here, waiting for things to happen. Wonderful. Luckily, we got some soda there as a bit of a consolation prize.
Quick, flush him out!
Ideally, we don't have to deal with any of these men, thank you. And we can just hit the button and make our way up to the very famous cutscene
Looks like they call you
in
the
which
false shepherd.
Booker
You, the
gets
lamb.
smacked with a wrench, which seems like it would be a Bioshock 1 reference, but I don't think it
How
is.
do you figure they'd know you'd be coming?
Either they've got a profit on this.
Here there is a little bit of
or them
money
that hired me also
and
wrote this
one more
stuff.
infusion for the road.
Why?
And that's going to be our maximum magic power for the run.
You all right?
And there's going to be one more input that I input here.
Paris.
And after that, I think that will be a fantastic time for a break.
It's up to you now.
Awesome.
There's no one.
Wait, what is that?
So Elizabeth justifiably gets very upset at us for lying to her.
New York.
So we're going to simply
One
look
thing we had
down
in that tower was time
and
to do it. Time to study
try to
things
comfort
like
her, but that
geography.
wrench
I
on
owe
the
money. And there's
Chekhov's
fellow
wrench is going to hit us.
wipe
We're gonna
away
be-
my debt in exchange for you.
Pass into a pretty long
Come
cutscene.
on. Everything's gonna be okay. Will you just turn around and talk to me and we can.
All right. I think that's a great place.
Youch. All right. Well, with that, my friends, we are going to take a quick wellness break now. So make sure you hydrate, use the restroom, stretch, get a sweet treat, and do all that fun and awesome stuff. And we'll be back soon with more Bioshock Infinite on Hidden Heroes. Hey everyone, and welcome back from the break. This is, of course, Hidden Heroes, and we are currently in the middle of showcasing Bioshock Infinite gunless with a variety pack. So I'm going to hand it back over to you. Again, good luck and have fun.
Thank you so much. Yeah, if I was smart, perhaps I would have let this cutscene play because it's kind of a long one. But, you know, I want to give you the full Bioshock Infinite experience. Yeah, there is a category that I would say I struggle with more than gunless. It's the 1999 mode run of this game, which is the highest difficulty, but in addition to being the highest difficulty, it is also the highest in terms of how annoying it is to complete. Yes, enemies do damage, and you lose a lot of money when you die. But the worst part about that is that if you ever go below $100, the game boots you to the main menu, which you would think would be like a horrible, like, terminal punishment, but it isn't. It just lets you retry the checkpoint. So why even boot? Sorry, I'm ranting now. But
Wow.
I do struggle with that run a lot, and I will just be 100% forthright when I say that is a 100% a skill issue. There are documented ways to mitigate the dangers of 1999 mode.
You Fitzroy?
I'm just too stubborn.
Nothing but.
I'm learning new things. Are you kidding me?
This
Right.
is my airship you're hanging me out of, and I got perilous need of it.
Really? Because it sure look like old
I'm old.
Comstock's airship to me.
Listen, I ain't looking
Can't
for
learn
a
new
fight.
tricks. Not at this point.
There's already a fight to win. Only question is, which side you on? Comstock is the god of the white man, the rich man, the pitiless man. But if you believe in common folk, then join the Fox. If you believe in the righteous folk,
Unfortunately,
then join
coming
the
up
Fox.
is
And the
perhaps the worst trick in the game, all categories included. I'll explain it when we get closer to it, but Finkton is the segment of the game that is by far the least explored, because we actually skipped the vast majority of it with the skip that Dropcloth enables us to do. Only problem is, it's really annoying, and you'll get to see why a little bit later. But in the meantime,
Find Elizabeth before
we
she
will
gets
traverse
out.
Finkton. Jump around here. And then we're going to be performing what we call pipe skip, or what I call pipe skip. Instead of going on all the way to the right, you can just jump on the pipe here. And ordinarily, if you had Hillrunner's hat, you would be shooting yourself at the feet here, so that you would constantly be breaking your shield to get constant speed boost, since there is no way to access the Sugar Rush speed boost, but obviously we don't have access to that. Which is why we don't really care about Hillrunner's hat. It would be, you know, it's an added bonus, I suppose. But the thing with Hillrunner's hat is that it's not useful in gunless, but neither is Dropcloth in any other category. So luckily it worked out so that you only really need one for each run. You don't really need both for one run. Unless that run is, of course, 100%. Speaking of which, let me rant about 100% really quick. You might recall that I said that gears are random, which is why we had to grind for Hilverna's hat in the first place.
Hold up for a minute.
The really messed up part about that is that there are more gears in this game than gears that you can collect. So in the 100% run, what you do, brace yourself for this, is you repeat the same 5-minute cycle, going up and down from the Hall of Heroes, collecting the same gear 10 times. So you waste like 30 to 40 minutes just doing that.
Oh my goodness.
So I think that's the only run where you do actually need to get Hilverna's hat and Dropcloth in the same run. Alright, hopefully this fight goes well. I'm getting some pretty lucky electric punches. Let's hope we can keep it that way. Did the enemy run up to us? He did not, so we're going to be a little bit behind. There's a little bit of RNG attached to that. There's an enemy here we can take out. Stun this guy with Shock Jockey, and then hopefully... Oh, he actually hit me out of that. He hit me out of it again. I might actually die here. Wow, I just keep getting really unlucky. Yeah.
Unlucky.
Very, very interesting interactions that just happened there. Yes, you want to make sure that you stun that particular... you want to make sure that you stun that particular enemy and then throw a fireball at him. I don't know why I just... gendered the mechanical turret. But that's fine. Regardless, yeah, I kept getting hit out of the... I kept getting hit out of the animation, just like that. Which unfortunately means that we're gonna have to do a little bit of extra work here, but nothing too much to done. Ideally, there should be one more enemy up here, so we can just unlash onto him with the skyhook, and we can move on to the next segment.
Stop already!
I am not going.
Elizabeth, wait!
Dismount, so that we can beat Elizabeth to this cutscene, even though we're trying to chase after her, presumably. So yeah, the handyman enemy, it's pretty big. It's pretty beefy. So we picked up handyman nemesis specifically for, I think we only have to kill exactly one handyman. No, 2 handymen. We have to kill 2 handymen. But they're so powerful and so dangerous that we pick up an entire gear just to make killing those things easier, because you can stun them, but you can't stun lock them in the same way that you can a lot of other enemies in this game. So we want to make sure that we make that process as expedient as possible.
Elizabeth, I've made an arrangement to get our airship back.
You can get us out of here.
Yes, I just need to supply enough weapons to arm an entire uprising.
And where will we get these weapons? From one of our many friends and allies?
A gunsmith in Finkton should be a walk in the park. What do you say, partners?
You're a liar, Mr. DeWitt. And a thug. But you're also my only means of reaching Paris.
Now, in a normal run of this game, you would go and collect power-ups for your guns, but as we are gunless, there's no need for us to do that, so we're just going to pick up some salts before we head into the Finkton docks. Or leave the Finkton docks, I should say.
That would be your gunsmith.
Oh, right. In here,
Daisy Fitzroy.
there are 2 enemies that we must take out first here. Ideally, we get them both with electric punch. Okay, you survived with a 1 HP. That's actually extremely rare for an enemy to survive being punched with the proper electric punch.
Well,
Illegally. Let's look for another way. Locked.
Alright,
Elizabeth.
we're going to set 2 fireball traps behind us so that reinforcements get immediately destroyed upon spawn.
Why not, you ask? Well,
And we are going to take out the big Iron Patriot here with really advanced and technical strats, as you can see. 2 more enemies behind us. There will be 1 more enemy that spawns behind us. And then 1 more enemy that ideally... Okay, he's taking a little bit. He's taking his time, but that's fine. Alright, not too bad. We can press this button, and there's a pretty long cutscene here while we wait for Elizabeth to access Slate's locker and, you know, go through a bunch of lore stuff they don't really care about.
Slate's locker. He must have worked here.
In an ideal world, That is to say, in a world in which you were running any percent HRH mod, you would be able to damage yourself down to 0 here, which would bypass all of this dialogue. Additionally, you would be able to do one of the coolest skips in this game. It's very, very precise, very, very difficult. But once you get it, you can get it pretty in your hands pretty easily. The one where you death warp at the side of the back of the elevator and then do a very precise jump to land on a railing to skip all of Finkton. We will be skipping all of Finkton, but we're going to be doing it in perhaps the worst way ever devised by a human. We're going to be using our drop cloth, which again gives us a speed boost when we dismount from a sky rail or a sky hook. Land on a very precise bit of collision on a I guess you call it a roof or an awning, and hopefully jettison ourselves up to hit the upper railing. Now, this is not the first time that I performed gunless on Hotfix. I did it, gosh, it's got to have been like 2 or 3 years ago at this point. I have a setup that makes it a little bit easier. Also, I'm on the Switch too, which also makes it a little bit easier. But it's not perfect. And for some reason, it tends to be easier on PC. Maybe it's just the fact that you have a little bit more control over your aim. But like I said, to this day, we really don't know what makes this trick work properly. So I will be in the background, constantly mashing my face against a wall and hoping that it works. It does always work eventually. It doesn't. I remember last time I did this run, I was literally doing that trick for upwards of 20 minutes, and I will hope that that does not happen this time with the advancements in tech that we have now. Let's go ahead and switch Sugar Rush to Drop Cloth actually while we're here. Yeah, imagine getting to skip all of this as well.
That'd be so awesome.
It would be super awesome. And available on most of the runs of this game. I think the exceptions would be low percent, gunless, and glitchless. I think you're able to do in all of the categories.
They're only good at the company store. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll be damned if I let any of you poor folk get robbed at some shady establishment. You see, the Fink Company store brings you Fink products at a price
designed specifically for the Fink worker. Alright, Jeremiah Fink is going to be nice to us, quote unquote, and give us some extras here. The only thing we obviously can't pick up is the gun. But here is where the mashing fest begins. We are going to latch up onto a railing, detach ourselves down onto the ground, and then reattach ourselves to the railing to hopefully sort of double up on the speed boost that you get from Drop Cloth. So, I'm going to sit here and do this a couple times. Again, it always ends up working out eventually, but it's just a matter of how long it takes. So while I'm doing this, Anarchy, if you have any additional announcements, now's a great time to get those out of the way.
Of course. One thing that I talked about earlier is that we are celebrating AAPI Heritage Month, which is awesome. But I also want to shout out some of our other heritage and minority-related groups at GDQ. In particular, I want to shout out Black in a Flash, which our next event is coming up. Black in a Flash presents Juneteenth, class of 2026. Is going to be airing June 18th through the 21st, right here on Hotfix. So you can check out the schedule with exclamation mark Juneteenth in the chat. It's going to be amazing. There are a lot of really awesome people who are part of that community who are going to be doing runs on the schedule for that. It's going to be a great time. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Even PT is in chat, so you can tell you it's going to be a great time. Also, I do want to talk about Frame Fatales, who also has just announced their next upcoming event. So Frame Fatales, a community supporting women and femmes in speedrunning and gaming, is going to be hosting Frame Jam, which is a game jam which is going to be running from June 5th through the 21st, which is rapidly approaching. It is almost June, which is crazy to think about. But anyway, the team building for that is going to be starting June 1st. So you can use exclamation mark FF in the chat to learn more about that. So if you've ever done a game jam or interested in making a game or interested in doing anything like that, make sure, and you qualify for the FF community, make sure you get involved with that. It's going to be a really fun time. For any overlap for those who are in the Lady Arcaders community, they also do the Lag Jam, which is also a really fun time. There were a lot of really good games to come out of the last Lag Jam, some of which are like actually released games on Steam now, which is really, really cool. So make sure you stick around for that.
Yeah,
I see this trick as being awesome.
It's kicking my butt a little bit. Yeah. Every speedrunner has like a mashing face when they mash the button. Basically, what I need to do is when I dismount, I need to be sprinting as well as jumping at the same time. Again, we're not exactly sure what causes this to work, and it's. I will say, just for the sake of transparency, that this is taking significantly longer than I expected. My average number of times to get this trick is probably around 5 or 6. So the fact that it's taking me this long is actually kind of unfortunate, but we'll do our best.
I trust in
worst
your
comes to
process.
worst. Yeah, worst comes to worst if this ends up going bad. There is another save that we can load on another file, but hopefully we don't have to come to that. Oh, thank gosh. All right.
Nice.
Unfortunate, but, you know, we got it eventually. And I will say that this was significantly faster than when I did this last time. I literally had to prepare trivia for the last time I did this run on Hotfix because it was just so volatile. We had no idea how it worked, and we have a slightly better idea of how it works now, but it's not perfect, as you can see. All right, you might be wondering how we get past this gate here. Well, luckily, like I said, we experienced back in the Hall of Heroes, damaging ourselves down to 0 can be done with enemies as well. So thankfully, since we did skip the Finkton segment, the game doesn't quite know where to respawn us, so the game will it simply just won't decide to put me anywhere except where I died in place. So luckily, by performing the Death Warp and using our momentum to carry ourselves through the doorway, the game will sort of determine our position to be past the gate and then respawn us at the gate. Or beyond the gate, I guess I should say. So that thankfully saves us quite a bit of time. And if you're wondering what that skips, rest assured, I know that looked like I was just wasting a lot of time there. However, what that trick skips is it skips having to do the Good Time Club, it skips having to do Shantytown, it skips having to do the blimp segment on that bridge that we were just on. It saves quite a bit of time. So even though, yes, I would have preferred for it to go a little bit faster. Rest assured, knowing that I am indeed saving time over a standard playthrough of the game or a glitchless run. Yeah, I would show you, but it would eat into our time. I have
just right for each other, aren't they?
So many like clips of myself trying to do this trick, and whenever I get the trick, I use like the button on the controller that like saves the last 30 seconds of your gameplay. I have so many of those clips on my Switch, and every single time I get it, I did something different and it still worked. So I would love for there to be like a 100% consistent way to get it on console, on controller, but I think we're a bit off from that. Like I said, this is not meant to be a particularly
Hello? I think.
I saw you die, Booker.
This is not meant to be a particularly.
That's right. Listen, I got you your
Shall we
guns. I'm here
say-
for my airship.
I don't want to say exciting, because it's exciting in its own way, but it's not meant to be a very accessible, shall we say, run of Bioshock Infinite. I'm showing this off as with like imagine me with my hands crossed together and on my knees saying, please, if you're going to run this game, do not let it be gunless first, to do literally anything else. Wow. Okay, I guess.
got a lock needs picking.
I guess he's just a very stalwart man. All right, we're gonna pick up a little bit of extra money here. Now Elizabeth opens that, and we're gonna set up for the fight, the final fight of the factory segment. There are 3 fireballs that go on top of this tower. And then the rest is just essentially praying that everything goes properly. So I believe this is the literal one time, oh, maybe it's the second time. This is one of 2 times we use Bucking Bronco, which sends people up by punching him, by lifting him up with Bucking Bronco and then punching him. He gets essentially, he like flies off the arena, so which eventually he will die from lack of health. Now we play a second round of Bioshock Infinite tower defense. A lot of the enemies tend to spawn directly in front of us here, so it's risky to actually move around because sometimes enemies can get stuck and prevent you from actually completing the game, which is obviously very bad. So this is one of the handyman enemies, as you can see. And furthermore, as you can see, we can stun him with a combination of Murder of Crows, which is his weakness, as well as I'm a little low on health. I'm a little bit worried. Murder of Crows as well as our Electric Punch, but it's not foolproof. Alright, there we go. Luckily, the handyman will always drop salts and health, so even if we're appearing to be at very low health, it will not really matter at the very end, because the handyman will replenish our health after we kill him. That was a pretty good fight, all things considered.
Nice.
Let's take the time to remove drop pod, since we will not be needing it for the rest of the run.
He's going to kill that child. Booker, we have to do something. We have to act. We have to get in there. Come on, Booker, we've got to get out of here. Boost me up. Go to the window and distract Daisy. Go!
Is this it? Is this your movement, Daisy?
This is what needs to be done. You see, the founders ain't nothing but weeds. Cut them down and they just grow back. If you want to get rid of the weed, you gotta pull it up from the root.
Unfortunately, we must say goodbye to Daisy here.
No.
In perhaps one of this game's more interesting narrative decisions, but I'm not here to talk about that, I guess.
Elizabeth.
Whoa, hey, easy.
And then we will make our way to the Emporia segment of this game, which houses something that you might be familiar with or are dreading if you've played this game before. We do actually have to do the Lady Comstock fights. You don't have to do all of them. We only have to do 2 of them, but that's certainly more than you would normally have to do. So that's really awesome and cool. Like I said, if you're going to learn this game, which I would highly recommend, it's a very, very optimized and very, very fast-paced speedrun. You're always constantly moving at high speeds. I would recommend that you do not start with Gunless, because you don't get access to any of those fun things. You have to do all of the bad things. So, yeah.
Forget.
Highly recommend learning this game, but maybe start with something else.
Wash away the things that you've done.
You don't. You just learn to live with it.
So the moment of truth between us.
Yeah, I did actually want to ask. I know you run a lot of Bioshock. What got you running into so many categories in Bioshock Infinite?
No. Shit. We gotta find a way to make
Good
this
question.
go faster.
I would say that
There's gotta be some
it's
sort of throttle or accelerator.
nice. Well, back when I was a fledgling speedrunner, you know, as you might imagine, there aren't too many console speedruns of Bioshock Infinite because the PC is just so much faster and so much more powerful. So when I was a fledgling speedrunner, I was obsessed with the idea of getting all these free world records. But as I have matured in my speedrunning outlook, it's actually really nice to be able to use a host of skills that I've learned in a game in very different ways. It's like it's a significantly more intrinsically motivating thing as opposed to extrinsically motivated from before. Like,
Stop it!
yes, I know how to beat the game gearless, but can I do it one-handed? Yes, I know how to do this trick to skip over this, but can I use it in 100%? There's a lot of questions like that you get to ask when you learn all of the categories of a game, and they're always very fascinating questions to answer.
Yeah, that's very cool, actually. I think one of the coolest things about speedrunning is just the kind of skill expression, especially when you know a game very well. So being able to know all these things about a game and then apply it differently based on the category you're doing or whatever is really, really cool.
Absolutely. I
Of course.
am certainly one of those speedrunners that began during the pandemic. I think that it describes a lot of us. But I think this was a really good first choice, honestly. Alright, there is a bit of skip here. This is a very, very difficult fight, even done casually, so the fact that we could just jump over the trigger of that fight means that we get to avoid it entirely.
Nice.
After that, we will activate this doorway for Elizabeth to unlock. And for whatever reason, if you run far enough away from Elizabeth as she's unlocking a door, she will just automatically open the door. So all of this dialogue that you're currently seeing on the bottom screen is basically skipped over. We're going to get to make our route a little bit more expedient by running all the way to those stairs. A couple enemies we can take out here. Ideally, we get 2 electric punches, which we did. And, okay, so there are 2 ways to do this. There is a really cool way, which I would love to be able to show off, but I am just so unfortunately inconsistent at it that it is simply not worth it. By which I mean, if you fail it, if you fail this trick, you soft lock the game. And I would not like to risk that for a showcase, even though I did mash my face into a wall for several minutes. I would like to keep repetitive, unnecessary inconveniences to a minimum if I can. So we'll just do the fight the fast way, which, as you'll see, is pretty fast, all things considered.
Need this?
Did you take a look at this lock?
Yeah, so what you're supposed to do is de-aggro the enemies by jumping off that railing there. And while the enemies, and before the enemies have re-aggroed onto you, you prompt Elizabeth to open the lock that she just opened. One programming quirk of this game is that if Elizabeth is interrupted in the middle of attempting to open a lock, the game will soft lock. The game will simply not allow Elizabeth to open that lock ever again. So you do have to just reload checkpoint at that point, which wouldn't ordinarily be that bad, except it starts me at the beginning of the Emporia segment because this game's checkpoint system is just really, really cool. So I didn't want to risk that. I feel like that would be that would take an already devastatingly slow showcase and I don't know, pour molasses on it or something.
They seem to want to help.
They seem to be out of their minds.
What's odd?
The fact that we sometimes
Finish each other's sentences.
exactly.
Alright, so coming up, we get to see one of the most recent advancements to Bioshock Infinite speedrunning, which is the wall clips. Basically, if you are against a piece of collision and there is an enemy that is above you, you can use an ability called Charge, which charges you at the enemy, but it doesn't know where to put you in terms of horizontal position, so it will push you behind the collision that you're against. Or back in the day when we didn't have that skip, this fight in this huge arena was absolutely disgustingly terrible. It was so long, and you just had to hope that enemies behaved the way you wanted to. There are a lot of really strong enemies as well, so it's very likely that you die a couple times. It was just an awful fight to do gunless, but now we can skip it. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be an issue because you have guns that you can use to death warp your way past tons of collision and stuff like that. But we are obviously limited on gunless, but thankfully the skip still exists. So you're going to see it here. I'm going to come up here, use our new undertow ability to grab 1 or 2 enemies and drag them over to this gate, sidestep myself to the left a little bit, unleash it, pop them up with fucking Bronco, and then use... Ooh. Not quite, actually. Why don't we try again? Lift them up. And push back. Good. I'll take it.
Nice.
There's going to be 2 additional enemies here that we can hopefully use charge to take out, but sometimes this enemy is... There we go. A little bit finicky.
We won't be able to return.
Can you open this?
It's a simple dual dial lock.
I guess that actually does mean that I lied to you all earlier before. I said that we used Bucking Bronco 2 times, but
We find one of those fools. This might.
I guess that's technically not accurate because of the advent of these new
You put a person in a cage, they develop an interest in such things.
I suppose so.
And I won't be locked up again.
Now, coming up, there's a very long fight in a big arena, which... It breaks my heart. There is a really, really cool gate skip that you can do, which skips the entire fight, but that only works if you're able to skip all the Lady Comstock fights. Because we're on Gunless, we don't have access to doing any of the Lady Comstock skips. We actually have to do many of the Lady Comstock fights. And because of that slight inconvenience, we actually must complete this big arena fight at Downtown Emporia. The reason for that is really stupid. The reason for that is you can skip the fight. You can move your way through the game. You can even unlock the door that you're trying. You can even, I guess, summon the lock that you would use to unlock the door on the gate at Lady Comstock's grave. The problem is, for whatever reason, the game will still think that you're in combat. And remember, you can't interact with doors or locks or gates if you are still in combat. So the only way to mitigate that is to actually do the fight that we're about to do, which
if it comes to it,
I would love to be able to skip, but until we find a way around that, we're just simply gonna have to do it. The reason for that, by the way, is because of the handyman enemy.
All right.
Weirdly enough, the handyman appearing and dying is the main trigger for if you're allowed to open the gate, because that's like the big enemy of the fight that needs to be, that's the main condition, the main win condition, you might call it. But we don't have access to that, so we're just going to do this fight the good old-fashioned way, which is to say, not the good old-fashioned way, because I would be using a gun. We do have to punch enemies to death. But in addition, we're going to be using our Undertow ability a lot more. Undertow, you probably unlocked it in your casual playthrough, but probably didn't use it much because it came pretty late in the game. It is actually probably the most powerful figure in this entire game. It allows you to pick up enemies, and even better, throw them off platforms like that. Those enemies have a lot of health, and obviously we want to spend as little time as possible punching enemies with a lot of health, because that would take a really long time. So, by throwing them off using Undertow, we can avoid the pitfall of having to waste time just standing there punching enemies like you saw me do before. 3 more enemies here. We can throw them off like that. Sounds like Elizabeth wants me to kill 1 more person.
Appreciate it.
After that, there's going to be 1 more sort of flying gondola here. However, it's a fake gondola. But the really dumb thing about this game is that even though it's a fake gondola with fake enemies, you could still take damage from the fake enemies. I'm not sure why that is, but whatever.
Right.
So the reason it's fake is because it only exists for this handyman to destroy it. It's basically a cutscene condition. So I guess the damage is the damage is not fake, but the enemies are, which I guess saying it out loud makes even less sense, but you know, whatever. This is going to be our second handyman enemy, but as you can see, Elizabeth is being kind to us and opting to give us some health if we ever get down too low. We should be pretty good here, though. Nope, not quite. So we are going to take Elizabeth on her offer. That is to say, we should, in chat, rejoice, say hooray, because Elizabeth was, for once, helpful. Yippee! A couple more enemies to take out, so we'll throw them off as well. Looks like there's 1 more enemy behind me, but that should be it, right?
It's locked.
Sounds like it. Good. Pretty good fight, all things considered. Didn't die. That's obviously priority number 1.
The shop. What you asked me to do.
Let's not discuss it.
No.
How much money do I have? Not enough.
What did that thing do to you?
If he were to take me back, that's death, Mr. DeWitt, for something so so like it, I cannot tell the difference.
Now, in addition for charge being useful for this wall clip, it's also useful as a really interesting movement tool. We don't get to use it that much, and it actually pains me to say that there's no such thing as a New Game Plus mode for Bioshock Infinite, because I think that would be really fun because of the use of the charge ability. You'll see what I mean in just a couple seconds here, actually. I won't spoil the surprise. Alright, and there's some cake. Still, again, even all throughout this, we're still just begging for Sugar Rush, Sugar Rush drops. Alright, so this is what Charge can do, and it's very fast and looks very snappy. I wish, can you imagine how fun this game would be if we had this from the very beginning, but unfortunately, no such mode exists. One other consideration that we have to have in that arena there, it just looks like we bypassed that arena, and we did, but one special consideration we need to make sure we have is that we're not killing too many enemies. That's because we're going to be needing to do a bit of a skip to unlock a door and make sure that the enemies are not aggroed to us in, let's say, 5, 6, 7-ish minutes. And it's a little bit scary, honestly, because if that trick doesn't work and there are 2 enemies left alive and 2 enemies that are aggro to your position, you just have to do the fight, which doesn't lose too much time, I guess, in the grand scheme of things, but it loses a lot of time for a speedrunner. And despite what mashing my face against a wall might have looked like a few minutes ago, and I am actually trying to be as fast as humanly possible. Alright, so this is what I mean. If you did not destroy that handyman in that fight beforehand, that you would be able to unlock, or at least summon the lock for Elizabeth to open the gate, but Elizabeth would not open the gate because they would still consider you to be in combat. So we just had to do the fight. Not too big of a deal, but annoying regardless. Now, as you can see, we are setting up a bit of a spawn cam.
Will you open the door, or do I have to go in without you?
Because it is time for the Lady Comstock fights. Last time I did this run last time I played Bioshock Infinite on Hotfix, there was a skip that we could use to skip all of the Lady Comstock fights. Very, very cool skip. It requires a little bit of the floor's lava as well. But, yeah, on Gunless, we don't have access to any death warts. It's so annoying, too, because we will be using another wall clip to get through that gate, but believe me, I have tried. I have tried to pull enemies from that arena in that sort of alleyway area all the way over to the gate to sort of make us able to do the wall clip a little bit earlier. But there's a trigger, there's like a loading zone that kills literally every single enemy once they get past it. So there is no such thing as dragging enemies to be able to do the trick, which is very disheartening. But So if you take a look at speedrun.com right now, you might notice that the PC run is like around 18 minutes faster than the console Gunless run, and that's for a number of reasons. But the main reason is on PC, you simply have enough frames to just slide through the gate. You don't even have to do any of the fights. You just look down at the ground and you slide past the gate. No tricks necessary. You just sort of use your awesome power of frame rate and just absolutely skip all of this Lady Comstock stuff. The Switch version and any console version does not have access to such a thing, so unfortunately we are required to do at least 2 of the Lady Comstock fights, which it pains me, but you know, like I said, no one said this run was fun. It was just funny.
Like us all, Lady Comstock exists across time.
She's both alive and dead.
She perceives being both.
He finds this condition disagreeable.
Perception without
Sometimes that's what you need out of a speedrun. I love a funny speedrun.
Yeah. Like I said, I beg of all of you, if you are going to learn Bioshock Infinite, please make it not this run. You're going to hate this game so fast if you learn this run. So, yeah, learn any percent. Eleanor's that mod. I guarantee you'll have more fun.
truths you must discover first.
Truths which, in this world, Comstock has destroyed.
If only one of you had the power to alter time and space.
That would be a blessing, wouldn't it?
Well, they're sarcastic.
So in addition to collecting, or at least beating Lady Comstock at least 2 times, we actually have to unlock all of her tears as well, otherwise the 3rd phase won't spawn, which is really awesome and cool. So we have to go out of our way to destroy all of these enemies in all of these different areas. Thankfully, 1 fireball should take out most, if not all of the enemies there. It's possible that 1 survives, but it looks like we got him.
Can you get this open?
Seems easy enough. All yours.
Game. Thank you. Okay, I was scared. This game is I wouldn't say this game's poorly coded, but there are many things that the game did not expect its players to be able to do. And I was terrified because this game does just like to soft lock sometimes. So luckily I got to avoid any of that.
She deserves whatever Comstock did.
Alright, this is the 2nd instance or use of Bucking Bronco that I had envisioned before I remembered the wall plinths. And we're going to do something very similar to the first time we used it. We're going to lift him up in the air and then just sort of punch him off the screen. We do unfortunately need to kill the handyman, otherwise Elizabeth will be, unfortunately, aggroed, so she would not be able to unlock the gate.
Ready.
It is weird there. I'm not entirely sure why there's just 1 handyman there. It seems like a very random enemy placement, but I'm not a game designer. I'm sure there's a reason. Alright, we enter the bank for the 2nd Lady Comstock fight. And our objective here is to kill the primary enemies in this fight as fast as possible. Reason being is because once we take out enough enemies in the main plaza, these doors will open up on the sides. And we need that. We don't even need to actually take out all the enemies. Our main win condition is actually that the doors open up. It seems to be taking a little bit longer than expected, but... Interesting. I guess I did not do it fast enough, because it's been a while since I've actually had to do this entire thing. Surely the door opens. Yes?
Surely.
Wow. That's actually extra. Okay, whatever. And that's okay. That means we get a little bit of a consolation prize, which is we get to charge a little bit more to go a little bit faster. So we did lose time, but we can mitigate the amount of time loss that we actually have. We have 1 more fight against a crow. We will luckily be victim to our stun locking antics yet again.
Sabotage all their patents, all of them, Mr. Fink. Now, why does the
and up comes the 2nd Lady Comstock fight.
Killed for the same reason Lady Comstock lies buried. Child. And why does he want me to do it? Because only
as you can tell, I don't know if you were able to tell from the first fight, she is very weak to fire. So, more than using the punches, even though the punches do work, we want to be hitting her with these fireball traps, which I'm very prone to missing for some reason. Hopefully that does not happen. Like that. Awesome. She does like to bob and weave a little bit. Which that should work, right? Yeah. Pick up some extra salts here before you leave.
Found some money.
And hopefully not pick up that money, because we don't need it. So, very interesting interaction is that if Elizabeth wants to give you something, like be it salts or money or health or ammo or whatever, one way you can avoid that if you are trying to interact with something else in the world is by jumping first. So you saw me jump a little bit there before hitting that switch at the elevator, and that's just to avoid Elizabeth having to give me the money and wasting a little bit extra time. Now, here is yet another trick that just sometimes I feel just doesn't work, which is, you know, it's a little bit discouraging, but it most of the time works. So let's just hope that it does the same thing here. Like I said, enemies being aggroed means that you will not be able to unlock doors. The issue is, there is just enough space on the left-hand side of this arena where the enemies de-aggro, and then ideally, it's just long enough for Elizabeth to open the lock. Thankfully, it actually worked out.
Nice.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. I know I said before that if Elizabeth is attempting to unlock a door and then the enemies get aggroed in the middle of that process, that something doesn't work. Like, there's more often than not a soft lock that occurs there. But for some reason, for that one, it doesn't actually happen. So yeah, I'm not going to complain about it. If it did, we would be in some pretty hot water. But we should be fine. So you saw a lot of those enemies just sort of spawn out of thin air, and that's because they're going to be used for the final fight of the Lady Comstock segment, which we will actually not be having to do, because we're going to be performing yet another wall clip with this gate. But we do actually have to wait for the enemies to spawn in first, so a little bit of waiting to go. It's certainly better than having to defeat the enemy, which is actually very easy because you can spawn camp Lady Comstock, but there's a very long cutscene that happens afterwards, so we're not really mitigating the fight so much as we are mitigating the amount of cutscenes we have to watch. Alright, so once they get activated, we can grab them and do exactly what we did before. Lift them up with fucking Bronco, stand under them, and then we can... Oh, there we go. And then we can avoid having to do the fight and having to watch the subsequent cutscene by going to Comstock House. Now, there is a skip that you could do to skip this very long cutscene where Elizabeth gets stolen away from us, like I said in my last Fearless run of this game. However, pretty annoyingly, actually, you need Hillrunner's hat, first of all, which we don't have. You only have Drop Cloth. And second of all, you need a gun. Of which we have neither. So we will just have to watch Songbird take Elizabeth away from us, which is totally fine. Although I feel a little bit bad because she actually did help us out a couple times this run. Sometimes, as I'm sure many of you are aware, Elizabeth tends to give you things that you are not either in need of or things at really inconvenient times. So the fact that she was, in fact, slightly helpful in this run is certainly a step up from her normal antics.
Stop it! Stop it! Don't hurt him! I'm sorry! I'm sorry. I never should have left.
It's really funny. If you do end up doing this skip that I was mentioning where you skip all of this cutscene stuff, the trigger for Elizabeth leaving is the cutscene playing. So if you don't see the cutscene, Elizabeth actually stays with you in the asylum segment, which is absolutely not supposed to happen. There's just two Elizabeths running around, but you don't get to see the funny thing. But you know who will be seeing the funny thing? Gulch 2 and his speedrun of Bioshock Infinite at GDQ 2026. Yes, Gulch will have access to guns as well as Hillrunner's hat, so you'll be able to see all of the funny antics there.
I'm not letting you take her, you hear me? Ah, you feathered piece of shit!
Now, one thing that I'm very happy for, that we're doing gunless and not glitchless, is that we're still able to do one of my favorite tricks of the run. This is called Asylum Skip, and it really only needs charge. I think I mentioned at the very beginning of the run that if that sort of out-of-bounds skip at the very beginning that sort of skipped the skip the raffle cutscene looked interesting to you, I would secondarily attempt this trick because it's really cool, skips a lot of gameplay, and it's pretty easy. So all we're going to do is run through this door, stand next to this George Washington looking fella, turn around, look up at this black curtain, and use charge onto this turret enemy, which will skip all of these segments regarding the sirens.
That was awesome.
Yeah, very flashy skip. Very, very cool. Very easy. I think it's really easy to explain too. You know, what charge does is latch onto enemies that are far away. You basically just latch onto an enemy that's far away. There is one danger though. If you end up going down and you skip the elevator, the game does in fact soft lock you. So there is one downside to that, but shouldn't be a problem for us.
There's the switch.
Should be able to head downstairs and get to Elizabeth now.
Jump scared by siren. And then we'll just charge one more time to get as close to this elevator as possible fast. And then activate the elevator. Like I said, if you go a little bit too far down on your way back, then you will soft lock the game. So, although this looks very slow, and it is very slow, it's just the most consistent and best way to get back down to the warden's office. Or, not the warden's office. Whatever the office is called. It's called Area is Restricted.
Your father gave you a lovely home, and you chose to destroy it.
He's not my father.
Elizabeth, hold tight!
Something else you can do there is perform a death warp. So if you are in the elevator and you wait for a certain line of dialogue, you can perform a death warp by damaging yourself down to 0, which will skip the need to watch the rest of the elevator sort of hit the ground floor.
The lunatics are running the asylum. They don't even listen to me anymore. All I can do is watch.
So we have a bit of a long cutscene here to watch before we get to the quote-unquote purpose segment. So if you have any announcements to make, now's a good time.
All I had
Of course,
in me.
yeah. One thing I do want to talk about is, of course, we have a bunch of programming that goes on Hotfix all the time. So this is Hidden Heroes, but if you're interested to see what's coming up on Hotfix, we've got Express Lane later tonight. We've also got other shows that are going to be on, or even if you're interested on running on GDQ Hotfix, which we would always love to have you, you can check out this week's schedule and submit your runs to be showcased at gdq.gg/Hotfix. We have a lot of different shows with a lot of different themes. So, for example, this one is, of course, the show where we showcase speedrunners who are part of marginalized communities, but we also have shows that are specific to types of games, like Express Lane, where we have runs that are only an hour or less, or 59 minutes or less. Crosshair, which is all runs with bullets. Make Your Own Victory, for example, which are runs that, I think it's runs that don't see the credits, stuff like that. So there's all types of shows for all different types of runs and runners, and we would love to have you on as well. Also, if you're looking to be more involved with the GDQ community, you can also join the official Games Done Quick Discord and add the Hotfix role to get updates on upcoming events, chat with staff, and more. You can use !Discord in the Twitch chat for an invitation and more information. But with that, one thing I talked about earlier was Frame Fatales, and you've actually done a lot of runs for Fatales. If you don't mind talking about that a little bit, while we still got some time.
Yeah.
How not to become me.
I will actually do that after this because we do have a little bit of stuff to do here.
Oh, good.
There's a long cutscene coming up, so I'll make sure to talk about it then.
There's still time.
So, like I said, charge is really powerful, and I wish we would have access to it at the very beginning because a new game plus run of this game would be absolutely awesome. But we are going to use charge and avoid having to run all the way, as well as kill enemies along the way, because with Electric Punch, that same 70% chance is applied to any of the charge casts that we decide to use. There is a skip that we can do that saves 2 seconds, which involves yet another wall clip. However, if you fail it, it wastes upwards of 30 seconds, so I'm not gonna do it. Basically, it would involve standing in this terminal here and doing a wall flip that would take you out of this wall. But if you fail it, which is very easy to do because enemies can sometimes just despawn on a whim, yeah, it just loses too much time. So I think it's a little bit too inconsistent to save 2 seconds. At least for my current skill level as it is. I need to make sure, be very careful to not jump in that hallway, because if I did, there would be a small % chance that I would clip through the floor and have to do all of this, rescuing Elizabeth segment over again, which would obviously be very, very bad. So even though it's a little bit faster to jump, it definitely behooves you to not jump, lest you lose a little bit more time. But yeah, regarding Fatale's runs that I've done, Fatale's is a fantastic outlet if you want to get more experience doing runs and commentary and stuff like that. I certainly would not be where I am today without Fatale's, both in terms of experience doing runs as well as being as comfortable on commentary as I am. My first run, I believe, was Bayonetta 2, 90% was easy. That was all the way, was that 2022? Oh no. All the way back in 2022, I did that run. And you can go back and watch that run. I'm very nervous. I am admittedly very nervous. And you know, a little bit of nervousness is always good coming into a performance or anything like that. But
I'm not going to let you kill him.
yeah, it's a great community that will absolutely help you hone your skills, as well as meet a bunch of very lovely people. So if you are a aspiring or professional speedrunner of your own and feel like you want to get a little bit more experience, as well as join a community that fosters a lot of positivity and camaraderie surrounding women in speedrunning, then I would absolutely recommend joining Fatale's and participating in their events.
Yeah, I saw you actually submitted this gaming category for Flame, so hope it gets in. This has been really fun so far.
Everything here is
Did I do that? Yeah, if it does get in, then I certainly hope that I can mash my face against a wall a little bit less than I had to for this one, but that's totally fine. Speaking, I don't know why I said speaking of, we didn't actually talk about breaks, but this would be a good time for a break before we get to the end.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and pause the timer and take another wellness break here. So my friends, make sure you hydrate, you use the restroom, you stretch, get a sweet treat, and do all of that great and fun stuff. And we will be back with the back half of this run and more Hidden Heroes soon. Hey, Hotfix Nation, and welcome back to the stunning conclusion of this episode of Hidden Heroes. We have this last little portion here for tonight where we've got more Bioshock Infinite gunless to go. So I'm going to turn it back over to a variety pack for the conclusion of this run. Good luck, have fun once again.
Much. All right, let's get started back in 3, 2, 1, go. So,
Can you unlock this?
list item 10 million on things that any percent does that's nicer is that you can death warp while Elizabeth is activating or unlocking that lock, and you will, of course, skip having to actually wait for her to do it. It's very reminiscent to the death warp that you can do all the way back in the Hall of Heroes when she's unlocking the what would you call it? The storage room with the shock jockey in it. But as we move our way into the latter half of this game, it's good to differentiate between normal enemies and what I'll just refer to as elite enemies. Elite enemies, generally speaking, must be taken out before any of the normal enemies, because generally you'll incur some sort of consequence, the consequence of which seems to be different depending on the fight that you're working with. So for example, in this fight, we want to make sure that we are taking out the big enemies first, that is the 2 Iron Patriots, as well as the rocket launcher man behind us. That is a death, right? Yeah. Before we take out any of the normal enemies, you'll notice that I just ran right past one, because there's going to be a flying gondola that spawns in right behind us. And if you happen to kill the normal enemies before you kill any of the bigger enemies, the elite enemies, what will end up happening is that the gondola will take simply longer to show up. So you'll notice that it spawned in fairly quickly here. If I had not destroyed the elite enemies before the normal enemies, it would have just taken a significantly longer time to actually, be available to interact with.
Good look. This shuttle that can take us to the hand.
Couple more punches. And off we go to every speedrunner's favorite thing in the entire world, which is an autoscroller.
Woo!
Luckily, we get to drag down the PC runners with us. There's no skipping the autoscroller on the PC version. Everyone has to do this. Everyone has to do it.
Do you think it's possible to redeem the kind of things that we've done?
Redeem?
Well, while we're here, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, yeah. While there's not too much to explain during the
But I'm afraid of you.
autoscroller, beyond nothing you've seen before. You'll see me drag enemies, you'll see me punch enemies, you'll see me throw enemies off with undertow, you'll see me use fireball traps as just main fireball attacks against flying turrets. You'll see basically everything you've seen before. While I am doing that, I would like to mention that the DLCs to this game, which I'll just be 100, I confess, are somewhat maligned on account of their narrative, their narrative inconsistency, shall we say, do actually make for some very interesting speedruns. There are a lot of really interesting tricks that sort of extend the typical range of tricks that you do see in standard Bioshock Infinite. The only difference is, the only reason that running the DLCs is perhaps not as exciting on first go is because you think Bioshock Infinite main game has a lot of cutscenes. Oh boy. You have not seen the DLCs to Bioshock Infinite, Burial at Sea Episode 1 and 2. I think they're really interesting. They have a lot of really cool tricks, but yeah, it takes a very patient person to be able to grind those categories. They're really cool though, and if you wanted to experience them in a way that didn't have to make you stealth around all over the place, then they would also be really nice to look into. I actually, on the topic of fatals, I did submit the DLCs to Flame Fatals as well, so maybe I'll get to round out my Bioshock Infinite showcase history.
Awesome.
You had your own list of things.
Yeah, I did want to ask, I know you run this game a lot, obviously, and the DLC as well. Do you have any explicit goals for the series currently, or do you have any upcoming things you'd want to work on soon?
Oh man. Okay, whatever. So I have been grinding all of the categories of Bioshock Infinite on Switch because my original goal is to do an RTA speedrun where I do every single category of this game in order, non-stop. Horrible decision. I would not recommend doing it. It would take a very, very long time. And the worst part about it is that the amount of time that it would take is extremely variable because you don't know when you're going to get drop cloth. You don't know when you're going to get Hillrunner's Hat. And some tricks simply require them. So it could be anywhere from 30 hours to 40 hours, depending on how nice the game decides to be to me, which, as you have seen many times this run, tends to be not very.
That is really, really cool, though, I have to say. I think that's like I said, I know we talked about this earlier, and I think skill expression is really, really cool. It's like the ultimate kind of task, especially when you've played a game so much and you've learned so much about it.
Oh yeah, I have a compendium of like strange interactions in this game that can be used in many different cases, many different cases, many different times. I will say, however, and I will I confess, because I run this game on Switch too, just because I just prefer console runs. I am actually not super familiar with all of the tricks that are available on the PC. You think I know a lot of tricks. The any percent HRH run, I believe, just uses 10, like, it just uses more tricks than I think I need to know on the console versions, because there's so many strange interactions. Like, the reason that I think people really enjoy running any percent HRH is because a lot of these segments you get to skip over. A lot of these cutscenes you get to skip over. In fact, what we're doing right now is waiting for all of these pods to fall. But if you were on PC, you would be able to just simply, on the first level of this, I believe it's on the first level of this airship, you would just be able to bounce on top. You would just be able to skip all of this. You wouldn't have to wait for any of it. So I think, like I said, it's a really, really fantastic run with a lot of knowledge required to make it work accurately and proficiently. I am just simply not aware, or very, I guess, extremely knowledgeable a lot of PC tricks, just because it's not the medium that I prefer to run the game in.
Yeah, absolutely, makes a lot of sense.
All right, we get to use charge for one more really cool thing. You might have noticed that a lot of these fight arenas in this game are just kind of skippable for some reason. This is an example of one of them, but we get to skip it in a really cool charge-themed way. Dismount here, charge against the first guy, and then charge against the second guy, and then you can just leave the fight. Man, can you imagine having charge from the beginning? I know I've said this like 5 times now, but let me stare wistfully out a window.
This is my tower. What's this? A siphon.
I saw this there. I could hear you singing from above. And the machine came to life in response.
And then in my mother's grave, there was a smaller one. They were draining me.
Do we have Celeste emotes enabled in GDQ Town? I forgot.
I used to be able not just to open tears, but I could create new ones.
I think so.
To anywhere I wanted to
like,
go.
in my mind, there's one Celeste emote that's just, what's the main character's name? Madeline?
Yeah.
Just like squishing up and down repeatedly. There's not really much to do beyond just Celeste squishing like this.
No.
So.
This is between me and him.
Now, I will say, there are a couple ways that we used to make this segment of the game a little bit more expedient. The old way that we used to do it was we used to actually get on top of the blimp, flip our way in bounds, which would make it so that Comstock would already have a big red bloody patch on his head, and we would be able to use that and skip a little bit of time. The more common modern way that we like to do it is by just doing a final death warp through the door after this cutscene plays. Yeah, so there are ways to make this more expedient. You will absolutely see one when we get to SGDQ. But yeah, it just goes to show how important a gun is in this game, and not for dealing damage. Ironically, a lot of our damage is actually comparable, minus the volley gun item that we pick up in any percent runs. But guns are. It's kind of like a no major glitches run, but with extra steps, if that makes sense. Like we're finding workarounds to a lot of things that give us, that impede our forward movement in standard runs or glitchless runs. Ironically, there is a no major glitches category. But no major glitches still permits you to use a gun, and it still permits you to death warp your way beyond the elevator in Finkton, for example. So no needing to do any drop cloth shenanigans for that.
What did he mean?
All right, so all we have coming up is the final fight, and then the final.
I don't know.
The final explanation cutscene, if you want to be generous.
Who knows?
But this fight is the final fight is very, very interesting when done on any percent. There's a really, really expedient way to just make sure that all of the enemies are being taken out and using Songbird to its fullest extent, instead of just waiting for things to happen to you. We have like a sort of, we have a half way of doing it. We use the principles that we use in the any percent runs final fight into Gunless. So we use the same principles, but it's obviously going to be a little slower.
Need a lock picked.
Those principles being making sure that we take out giant groups of enemies with Undertow. Like I said, Undertow is probably like the most casually slept on vigors in this game. I saw a couple comments in chat, not the least reason of which is because it's kind of disgusting to look at, and I'm not gonna lie, that's 100% valid. It does tend to give off some trypophobic. It does tend to activate some people's trypophobia, I guess I should say. It is a little gross, but it's so overpowered that we just sort of have to push through the grossness, unfortunately.
It's a song!
Alright, Songbird. Now that Songbird is our ally, we will be using Songbird primarily to take out the blimps on either side of us. We'll be using it a couple other times, especially if we happen to mess up the fight. But hopefully Songbird will be on blimp destroying duty. You'll see what I mean. You'll also see what I mean by this extreme power of Undertow. As we begin this fight, we'll grab as many enemies as we can off this ship, punch them all to death, and then do it one more time with the remaining 2 enemies. I did get a little bit, not even an unfortunate look, just a bit of an unfortunate interaction where enemies that are hiding between walls or behind walls can sometimes be blocked from Undertow's influence, but not too big of a deal. So after we do that, we can take out that first ship with Undertow, or sorry, with Songbird. Songbird will reactivate in time. And then our next order of business is to, first, we're going to ignore this first airship that comes in. We can't really do much to it at this point. We would if we had a gun, but we don't have a gun, obviously. Then we want to pull off these 3 enemies on this ship here, and do the same with the ship over on this end. There are some small enemies, but the main enemy that we want to make sure we pull off is the big rocket launcher enemy, because they obviously have significantly more health. Ideally, Elizabeth gives us some salts, but thankfully there's a bit of a salts repository right there. That's very important because we need to destroy this ship before the second phase of the fight starts. As the second phase of the fight starts, we're going to be using Songbird to take out this blimp that's coming in. But more importantly than that, we're going to be using the distinction between elite enemies and regular enemies. Basically, this big blimp is going to summon 2 elite enemies, as well there's going to be a couple elite enemies that are going to be coming in on a flying gondola off to my right. We must destroy all of the big enemies before we destroy any of the smaller enemies, lest we find ourselves in a situation where... actually, make sure to do that. Lest we find ourselves in a situation where these smaller enemies just constantly respawn endlessly. Obviously, that's not going to be good. That's not going to be good for us. Alright, looks like they are destroyed, so we can just hope that we pick up all of the enemies around us with Undertow. I think we did just fine. So now that the rest of this segment is on a timer, we can just take our sweet time and destroy this big airship. I said, okay, there we go. So you'll notice that there are 2 blimps in this next phase. We are going to be destroying both of them. Only one of them with Songbird, though. The other one we're going to be actually... Yeah, you can actually enter the blimps in this game. The game does, in fact, teach you that on the bridge segment in Finkton, if we had not actually in the bridge segment in Finkton, had we not done that skip. But since we did that skip, we didn't actually see a blimp. But the fact that the game sort of expects you to remember that so many hours into the game, I think I think most people just sort of waited for Songbird to be ready. Alright, I'm low on health, so I'm going to go ahead and pick up that health kit there. And again, there are 2 elite enemies here. We want to make sure that we take out the elite enemies before the small enemies. Otherwise, like I said, the smaller enemies will just loop infinitely. And this is essentially kind of like a tower defense auto-scroller segment, so we want to make sure that we are limiting our exposure to that. Alright, there we go. Once the Songbird icon has disappeared from the top right corner of the screen, we have confirmed that the fight is over. So we got to go into another bit of RNG, which is really awesome and cool. Sometimes, after the fight is done, the amount of time that it takes for the game to recognize that the fight is done, that is to say, enter this cutscene that you're currently watching, is just longer than other times. I don't think we've figured out what necessarily causes it to come in faster or slower, so we just sort of hope that it does its job.
Come here.
Luckily, it was pretty fast this time, all things considered.
We can use the Songbird to bring the whole damn thing down. Destroy the siphon.
And that's what you want?
It's the only way we'll find the truth about my...
So before we go ahead and activate this cutscene, we're going to go into our menu and we're going to activate Fleet Feet. You might remember at the very beginning of the run, we picked up 4 gears in the DLC room. We picked up Sugar Rush, which you've seen all throughout this run. We picked up Electric Punch, which you've also seen all throughout this run. We've seen Handyman Nemesis used twice throughout this run. And the last one was Fleet Feet. I said that we would be using it later, and this is that later. Basically, Fleet Feet gives you a movement bonus when you're strafing or moving backwards. Now, generally speaking, in casual gameplay, that would not really matter, because for the most part, your forward movement speed, especially when you're running, is just going to be significantly faster than any of those options. However, in this segment, with the whole thousands of doors thing or whatever, the game actually slows your forward momentum. You might remember something very similar to this all the way back on Monument Island, when we were running up to the very tippy top of the tower. We did have to reload our checkpoint because the game slowed our forward momentum. The game does the same thing in this segment, but we can't reload the checkpoint. So the next best thing that we can do is activate Fleet Feet and walk backwards throughout the vast majority of this segment.
What is this place?
So,
Elizabeth?
This run is really just unfun until the very end, isn't it? You don't even get to look at the pretty colors. You have to look.
Where are you going?
Oh, come on. Yes,
you just have to look at Zoe.
Is there an answer here?
Down here.
Luckily, our forward momentum and movement speed is not halted until we activate the Spat Sphere.
This is a doorway. Probably gonna regret this.
I'll have to show you.
Now, I think this is probably the final thing I can add on the list of things that the PC run has over the console runs, especially with any percent versus gunless, is you are able to skip a little bit of the
ridiculous.
The doors segment, shall I call it. You're able to do a super bounce or a super jump onto some sort of invisible collision and just sort of run your way through some of this instead of having to walk painfully slow like we're going to have to do.
Look at that. Thousands of doors. Opening all at once. my God. They're beautiful.
What, the stars?
Now, have you played this game, Anarchy?
I have not, but it is on my list. I've watched a lot of runs of it, though.
Yeah.
Come on, it's this way.
I guess spoiler alert, but once you do, I would be curious to know your impressions on the ending. I'm sure you're familiar with people's impressions of the ending as it stands.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a pretty infamous ending for being confusing as all heck.
Once we were here, I could fully control it. I thought...
But granted...
What is that?
Gosh.
It's a key.
When did the first Iron Man movie come out?
It's always been
In the
there.
MCU.
I just couldn't see it.
I want to say 2008?
2008?
That sounds right.
Do you know when they started to introduce, like, multiversal things?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Yeah, I'm sure the comics nerds can spot me in the chat here.
What are all these
This game definitely made use of the popularity of the multiverses thing, and perhaps to its detriment, because the only thing that I hear about people complain about this game nowadays is that people complain about the convoluted story, which is really sad to me, because I think this game is really interesting in terms of gameplay. Although I understand that some people were justifiably miffed that you weren't able to have a full wheel of guns and armaments. You're simply forced to use 2 different guns, but
It's us.
one complaint that I do have about the original Bioshock is that some of when you shoot or like attack in that game, sometimes it can feel kind of not impactful every so often. Like the shotgun doesn't feel like a shotgun sometimes to me. When you fire the shotgun in Bioshock Infinite, you fire a shotgun. Like that is there's controller kickback and all. All right, this is one location where the Fleet Feet boost is actually useful.
You've already been.
It's only useful when Elizabeth's sort of dialogue cuts off before the ending of a particular scene. So we no longer are in a cutscene. So we can activate this door behind me as soon as we get to it. That's not going to be the case with some other doors in this final segment. For example, in the next lighthouse segment, you're going to see me walk forwards, even though it's technically faster to walk backwards, because we're still going to be in a cutscene, or some dialogue, shall we say. Therefore, it's not really worth it to walk backwards, because you don't actually save any time doing it. The second of the lighthouse sequences, we will be walking backwards, because the cutscene will be over by that point.
Are you ready to be born again? Take my hand.
No, I don't want to.
You already did, didn't you?
Are you ready to be born again?
That segment that we saw back there, by the way, with the millions of lighthouses and the different versions of Booker and Elizabeth, that is the place that I believe the PC run does, in fact, do the skip that I was mentioning, where you don't actually have to use Fleet Feet here necessarily.
Jesus, wash this man clean. Father, make him born again. Lord,
stop it.
What are you doing to it?
Get off me! Get off!
Son!
You didn't go through with
You
it.
think a dunk in the river's gonna change the things I've done? Let's get out of here. Hey, these doors of yours, they're all tears, right? Well, open one up. Open one up to Paris. I want to be shut of all this.
Well, a small interaction here that I can mention is that some doors will teleport you directly in front of them or to activate them, saving you a little bit of time. Some doors do not do that. There's a door that we open in the Chasing Elizabeth through Finkton segment, where it will quite literally take upwards of 2 seconds to activate the cutscene if you're not standing in front of the door in precisely the right way. If you try to activate the door from like an off angle, like you're like a perpendicular angle to it, it will have to turn you, and then it will slowly move you towards facing the door, which can actually lose you precious seconds of time. That door that I just activated is not like that. I was able to activate it from far away, and it just instantly teleported me to it. So knowing which doors behave in which way is one of those other weird, just
Go ahead.
like, I don't know.
You can wait as long as you want.
auxiliary pieces of knowledge that you just have to keep in your brain at all times.
I can see all the doors and what's behind all the
There is one thing with this cutscene here that
I see him.
it makes me mad. A slightly stronger way of saying makes me mad. This door that I'm going to interact with twice has killed my run. If I don't wait long enough before activating that door, I can sometimes just get soft locked. Why? I don't know. But it will just make me stare at this door infinitely. And if you restart your checkpoint, you are all the way at the very beginning of the Million Doors segment, which is absolutely terrible. First time it happened to me, I thought it was just like a one-off thing. Surely that would never happen to me again. Lo and behold, I think I was actually doing a gunless run. If there, I don't think it was a gunless run. It might have been like a low percentage or something like that. It did happen to me again. And I was just as mad the second time as I was the first time. But you know, is that fair?
It's like genuinely one of the worst feelings ever is when you're doing a speedrun and you something goes wrong because you went too fast. It's like,
I know. Oh my gosh. The first time I performed Bioshock Infinite for Fatales, there's a fight that you do in Finkton where you collect the volley gun for the first time. I did that fight too fast and just lost access to the volley gun and had to redo the fight. So, yeah, punished for being good at the game. Fun fact about this cutscene. It looks dramatic here, and it looks completely standard. It looks intentional, even. Weirdly enough, if you play this game with high frames, the pinky just falls instantly. This cutscene is over in seconds, but because we're playing on the Switch 2 version, I think we're seeing this game as intended. That is to say, with a very dramatic reveal that this child is Elizabeth. But for whatever reason, with higher frames, cutscene interactions also happen faster. Very odd, but you know, it's consistent on all consoles, so I'm not having to worry too much about losing time.
For almost 20 years. Until one day.
Alright, so we're going to be going through another lighthouse sequence. You might have noticed that just before the sequence that we had, we were in another lighthouse sequence. That one I did walk forward in, because, like I said, we were still in the middle of dialogue, so there was no real reason to walk backwards. This second and final lighthouse sequence will be done by me walking backwards, because the dialogue will be over by that point. All we need to do is interact with the door, and then the run will be over. So, be ready to call time. It's coming up very soon.
Don't see the point. What's done is done. What's done will be done. I suppose the brand is his hair shirt, as he is ours.
I guess, so not as to waste time for the second segment of tonight's Hotfix showcases. Thank you very much for watching. This is... I hesitate to say it's not a fun run, because sometimes it really can not be fun, but, you know, I don't want to necessarily speak with ill intent of any of the runs that I do, but if there was one that I would talk down about, it definitely would be this one. I highly suggest that you look into Bioshock speedrunning, of all 3 of the games, DLCs included. But again, maybe don't start with gunless. Also, I know I've said it many times throughout this run, but please do consider watching Gulch 2's run of Bioshock Infinite at SGDQ 2026. Like I said, it will be on Monday evening at 11:30 local time. And you'll basically get to see everything that this run doesn't have. You'll get to see every single time-saving maneuver that Gulch has access to that I do not, which I think would be a really, really fantastic contrast between the 2 categories. But we're about to hit time in 3, 2, 1, time. But GG's. Yeah, I thank you for the GG's. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I know it was a little bit of a slog in some points, but that's, you know, it's gunless. You expected a little bit of a slog, right?
Before we go, where can the people find you if they want to see you stream or anything like that?
Why are we back here?
Yeah, I stream on twitch.tv/a_variety_pack. Like I said before, I am sort of prepping to do this massive category amalgamation of Bioshock Infinite, but as the name suggests, I also run a bunch of other things, Bayonetta games, Hyper Light Drifter, I'm working on Octopath Traveler 2 right now, so skyward sword, lots of different things. So if any of those sound like your bag, then that'll be a really great place to hang out.
Yeah, please check out AVP. This was a really awesome run. I had a lot of fun. And thank you so much for showing this off. This was great.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. With that, we are going to go ahead and wrap up Hidden Heroes for tonight. I do want to shout out all our viewers. Of course, thank you everyone for supporting Games Done Quick with your subscriptions, your gift subs, your bits cheered. All of your contributions help keep our shows running on Hotfix. So if you are enjoying the stream, you enjoyed the run that just finished, please consider subscribing for exclusive emotes, ad-free viewing, and access to chat during replays. You can also always support the stream by sharing the Games Done Quick channel with your friends. But with that, that is going to be good night for me. So remember, my friends, you are all great and you are all heroes. Good night for me, and make sure you stick around for more awesome runs and runners on Express Lane after the break. Good night. And